Okay, well, it's great to catch up with Stuart Searle, manager of Met Police Youth. First time since the Burnley game. But what I want to do is try and take us back to and maybe tell some people almost a story of the FA Youth Cup so far. Dulwich here at home, almost didn't expect to win that one.
Yeah, I think bearing in mind our history against Dulwich and our history in the Youth Cup had been non-existent up to that point. I went and watched them play Bromley in the fourth qualifying round and felt that we had a chance of being able to beat them. They're talented individuals, as I think their number 10 has recently been signed by Norwich, so obviously a talent, and if we could stop him I felt that we could beat them, and from the off I felt we were the better side. I think on the night we didn't take our chances when we should have. Obviously we didn't defend well enough and conceded a last minute goal. So yeah, I mean, it was just a case of trying to keep the boys' spirits up, because I know that our history of penalties weren't great. So keep the spirits up, hopefully we'll take a chance in extra time, but obviously the boys turned the tables round and we got the first penalty win in I think 5 years, 6 years. So and obviously a little bit sweeter beating Dulwich as well, and my mates, obviously I know Junior and Gavin well, and obviously they were there and wished us well. So yeah, I mean it was a great night, and obviously at the start of the season you have to set yourself targets. Our target was to try and get through the first round, and a little bit similar to last year where we played Barnet. Obviously they were a non-league side per se at the time with a full-time academy, and I felt we did ourselves more than justice on that night. So it was a case of the second years that had that experience falling back on that and seeing if we could go one step further, and obviously fortunately we did.
To beat Dulwich on pens here, and then into the next round, and we drew Yeovil away. And a game that clashed with your own work commitments.
A massive disappointment for myself, and it was one of those that actually drove me a little bit harder to make sure that we were in a position to be prepared to play them. And actually Donovan and I jumped on a train the day after we beat Dulwich, because that was the night Yeovil were playing Forest Green down at Yeovil, so we jumped on the train the evening, went down there. I think it probably was the longest 6 hours of my life, to be honest with you. But went down there. The game wasn't great, and obviously it gave us lots to think about, and there was lots of points that we saw that we felt, we could actually win this game. Now obviously they're a full-time outfit. Their youth section isn't particularly old, but they're still a full-time outfit. They train every day. We always knew that it was going to be tough, but if we could affect the game enough, we would be able to get a result.
But the game you missed?
The game that I missed personally, being out in Wolfsburg, obviously with the ladies, and split emotions that day. I was with some ladies in the Champions League, around the 32 Chelsea ladies, and we'd just lost the game 2-0, but fortunately they were an hour ahead, so we'd just eaten and we got back into the bar and everyone was sitting having a beer, and I got the phone with me on the Wi-Fi, and scrolling up and down every 2 seconds to see what's going on. And I think the girls understood, and then all the staff understood where my passion was at that moment in time. I was dancing around the floor, and obviously Callum then gives me a heart attack when we concede in the last minute, and takes it to penalties, and trying to refresh the Wi-Fi every 2 seconds, and it goes dead, and it's like, what's going on? It was
not recommended to watch a game, what is it, on Twitter?
No, definitely not. But certainly the emotions were running high that night, and obviously once it came through that we'd won, and I had the phone call from yourself, and then quickly spoke to Donovan and to Paul, and obviously FaceTimed the boys in the changing room. I think they were a happy group. So so that was
an amazing result. Amazing result for the club. And bear in mind, you've taken this 6 years, is it now? Youth football at in 6 years.
It's the 7th year. It's the 7th season I've been doing it. So that win alone probably took us 3 or 4 years in advance of where we should actually be in reality. It's a credit to the boys, because they work so hard, and I think the Dulwich game it's obviously really hard to manage 36 boys. Everyone wants to be playing, and the new boys that come in don't see how important the youth cup is at that moment in time. They just see themselves not playing, and trying to explain and get that across to them that their time will come, and as long as we're in the youth cup, it's it's important that the second years have their chance, and if they do well enough, they squeeze themselves into the side. And I think that game really that night brought the group together. And the first years really started to buy into it, and then obviously the fact that we took 28 players down to Yeovil out of 36 it started to show how much together they are and how much they want to work for each other, and just be part of it, whether they're in the side or not.
But that took us on to Burnley then. Burnley away, another big team, big club, historic football ground. And you went there almost with no expectations, nothing on you at all, just to go there and enjoy.
Again, we've done our homework on them. Donovan had been all the way up to Preston to watch them play, and again, what we're trying to do from a group of staff point of view, and so much credit has to go to the amount of work that Donovan puts in and Paul puts in. Jack and Luke and the two physios, Tom and Emily, and to an extent Sam, who's obviously not with us now. So much credit has to go to them because of the amount of work. Everyone is looking at it, and I'm getting all the interviews and everything else with people, but obviously my name sits at the top of the tree, but I don't always see it like that. I like to see it as a group effort, and I always run things by Donovan and by Paul, so it's very much a group effort. And the work that we put in collectively obviously paid off getting to the Burnley game, and as soon as the club and Des come to me and said, look, we want you to do it properly, then okay, that's great. So I did all the planning and everything else, and we did it properly, and by doing things properly you can prove what you can show, what you can get from it. And amazing night, fantastic couple of days. The boys were impeccably behaved. I think that was recognised by some of the committee that were staying with us as well. That there is some discipline in amongst this group. They are starting to understand what it takes to be a top level non-league footballer, and what it's going to take to get them to the next level. And on the night, I think leading up to the team meeting that we had, I was a nervous wreck. I'd never been more nervous before leading up to a game, even when I was playing. And we were sat as a group of staff for a couple of hours, and we just left the boys to their own devices, and they were chilled out. They were playing head tennis, they were listening to music. They had Emily and Jack doing massage with them. So it was, it was a good day. Everything built up. The pre-match was good. There's a few rituals that have started to come out of it now that people don't want to change, and that's what it's all about. No secrets at all. It was, for me, it was just how we could prepare and how I could get into the boys' heads. And the biggest challenge for me now, obviously, us winning that game is now what can I do to motivate these boys even further? Where I can have an impact on what they do, and getting into their heads to make them understand. Listen, they do genuinely have a chance. I've said it to a couple of people now. That last Monday at Turf Moor, we climbed Ben Nevis on the night. The problem we've got now is we've now got to climb Mount Everest, because anyone that was taken as lightly isn't going to take us lightly now. And Don and I had spoke to their management after the game, and they'd said to us that they'd done their homework on us, and we could see that, because when I got their team sheet through from Pete Allen, or their lineup through, they'd changed. We went through what we had, and they'd changed 3 players. So much so that the player that Donovan felt was most threatening wasn't even in their squad. They'd obviously done their homework. They drafted in a couple of under-21 players. It was very much just giving the boys the belief. I felt throughout the course of the game, the first half in particular, we gave them a little bit too much respect. Okay. We didn't get close enough to them. Listen, they're a full-time outfit, and a Championship ex-Premier League outfit, you'd expect them to be fitter and more physical than us. But I think Luke Brandt, it was about 38 minutes, Luke Brandt hit a crunching tackle, and I looked at Donovan, and Donovan looked at me and was like, okay, now we're back in this game, because they're the moments you need to give the boys a little bit of belief. And the fact that we managed to stay at 1-0 up to half time was
good. Key, wasn't it? I remember you said to me,
massively.
you've been 3-0 down at half time.
We could have been 3-0 down quite easily, 3 or 4, and this is where obviously credit goes to Callum. And I mean, he had a fantastic game. Obviously, being an ex-goalkeeper, I'm going to be a little bit more critical of him, and he's there to do that job, and I would expect him to do that job. But at the end of the day, he stood up to the plate, stepped up to the plate, stood up, was counted, and made the saves the important saves when we needed him to, and that was key to that. And the back four staying nice and compact, and the fact we got to half time. Those sort of games, the longer you stay in it, the more jittery the opponents get. But I think that their manager actually said that he felt that their players took us too lightly in the second half, and we managed to affect them, and we ruffled a few feathers, and we got close to them, and I felt we were more than a match for them in the second half. And obviously level. to get to the end of the game level, I felt was deserved. And it was just a case of, once you're in extra time, it's, do you believe enough? And we obviously go behind again, and we get to half time and extra time. Just said to the boys, look, treat this last 15 minutes like it's the last 15 minutes you're going to play, and they just don't know when to quit. And words dumbfound me at the moment, because.
Did you think your chance had gone? Because you hit the bar, didn't you?
You always know in extra time you're always going to get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think early in the second half, I felt the chance had gone when we had the corner and Robbo headed it. The keeper's produced a wonder save onto the bar, and you think that's it, that's our chance gone. And I think there was a little bit of confusion, because Callum wanted to go up for the free kick, and me and him were having a bit of an argument on the sidelines. We take the free kick, and next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. So, listen, maybe that's just confused them a little bit more. But the elation that you feel through your body when that goes in the final minute of extra time.
Absolutely, and on to penalties again.
And then
another penalty shootout.
Yeah, another penalty shootout. And look, I think the success in the previous 2 rounds, the boys can call back on that. But the difference between this time and previously was we actually ended up with 4 first years on the pitch, and 3 key players that had taken penalties in the previous 2 rounds not on the pitch. So. Obviously our penalty takers were going to be different, but listen, credit to the boys, they stepped up, and every penalty was clear and concise. It wasn't even close to their keeper saving them.
I had a whisper in my ear, you'd stop watching.
Well, I'd ordered everybody to stand up in the technical area, and I went and sat on the bench. I was watching out the corner of my eye, but I couldn't take it. I think Donovan had his comfort blanket next to him in Iffy, because obviously if he had stood next to him in the previous 2 penalty shootouts, so I think
all the
superstitions come out then, But when Callum produced a save on their 5th penalty, obviously Chris missed our 5th. When Callum makes that save, I called Don over and I said, Don, this is our night. And obviously 3 penalties later, it is, and you're in Wonderland, and listen, the boys went off and did their bit, but for me it was very important that Don and we kept our standards, because obviously that's what we want to portray to the kids. Good. And we want to give the club a good reputation in amongst the ranks that are higher than us, and it's important that you keep your standards. And listen, I've been in situations where their young lad who's probably going to go on and be a pro, he's missed a penalty, and it's not the be all and the end all for him. No. Obviously it sends us into elation, but it's one of those moments for him where he'll relive that for a little while, but he'll have bigger and better things to call upon. But to get back into the change room, to turn my phone on, and then my WhatsApp and my Facebook and my Twitter just goes crazy.
And we've had huge response, haven't we, from literally across the non-league family.
I think so.
Clubs and people. Amazing responses.
I think it's probably taken a week to really settle in what you've actually achieved, and it was highlighted by, as we spoke about earlier, the TalkSport guys are talking about us, and I think that's when it's highlighted that someone from TalkSport actually says, well, the biggest FA Cup giant killing of the year has happened in the Youth Cup, and it's us beating Burnley. And when you think about it, it probably is, because you put it into first team terms. It's you know, you're having everyone swarm all over you. So
and take us on to now Wolves away, another away draw, another travel, but another Championship side. What's your views on Wolves away?
To be honest with you, for me, it's what I wanted, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to pull out a top 6 side, top 6 Premier League side, you know, Cat 1 Academy that don't play at their home ground.
Yeah.
If we got them at home, of course you want to play them at home. But the fact that we were drawn away, obviously you want to go to a ground that, touch wood, the game will be played at Molineux, and you get the opportunity to go to a big stadium, or a bigger stadium, what Turf Moor was. But I think for me the key is it's another massive historic ground, and you know, the history behind Burnley and the history behind Wolves that they have in the Football League and maybe the Premier League. It makes it that little bit more sweeter for me to pull them out the hat and to go up there, and you know, we'll go up there and prepare ourselves. And like I said, you know, we climbed Ben Nevis, but the next one's definitely going to be Everest. You know, but we'll do our homework. We'll watch them and we'll see where they're strong. And you know, we already know that they've got a couple of England under-18 internationals in there.
But it seems the strength in your side is collectively as a team, isn't it?
Oh, without any shadow of a doubt.
Good players, but it's like collectively across the pitch, from front to back, they all work for each other. And like you said, they don't know when they're beaten.
No, we go back to I take you back to the first pre-season session that we have, and that's one of the first things that I say to the boys. It's giving them an understanding of what it's going to take to be a first team player at this football club, and to push on further, and obviously what they're going to have to cope with along the way. And let's be honest, you and I have both been in the changing room when Jim's flown off the handle in, you know, at half time or at the end of the game,
criticism
or before a game. Yes, exactly. But it's massively important that, you know, the boys understand that, you know, if they're put in that situation and you know, and Jim flies off the handle at them, that they know how to cope with that. And it's giving them the strength, both mentally and technically, tactically, physically, to be able to develop. And what I've always said is the first years in particular, are a talented group of individuals. But the word there is individuals. What we've got to mould them into is a team. And I think they've come into the right place, and it's taking time, and it's taking, you know, pigeon steps, and we're getting there slowly but surely. But yeah, you know, they've certainly come together as a group, and you know, we haven't got, with the exception of Connor, any players that have really been in the system, in the academy system. You know, Connor was obviously at Reading up until 16. Ethan was at Aldershot until they folded, but you know, they were obviously only a conference come League 2 club. No disrespect to them. So it is very much a case of both Don and I's knowledge getting across to them, and building their confidence, getting them to understand technical, tactical formations and the way that we can play. And I think every change that we made in that Burnley game paid off, whether it be a tactical change, you know, or whether it be a substitution, or whether it be changing the shape. Everything came off at the right time, and I think it all came together very nicely for what can be something that the club can look back on. And the history that the boys have made.
Listen, we're all very proud of you and the boys. I know it's a Monday night, you've now got them training because your game's been called off, so I'll let you get out and get yourself prepared, because the date's not been set yet for Wolves, but hopefully we'll find out soon in the new year, and it'll be good luck up at Wolves for you and the boys.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Stuart.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.